We are Flake, Rose, and Spears, and we are Supremely Black. Dropping content that matters. How y'all doing this week, fellas?
What up? It's your big kinfolk, Jay Flake, man. Man, wonderful this week. D Rose came in town, man, for a little event I had at the house. So it was fun times being able to fellowship with the fellas and kick it on Saturday, and then kicked it all day on Sunday, watching football, drinks, the whole nine. I ain't gonna lie. Your boy's tired. I got a little older. It wore me down. And then, them Cowboys won on Monday Night Football. So that topped it off. So, man, my week has been filled with fun, mimosas, tequila, and football and family time. So it's been great, man. I can't even complain at all.
It sounded like you had a Houston Sunday fun day up in Nashville.
Hey, man, but it was at the house, though. It was at the house, though. I got to figure out some type of way, man. I got to figure out some type of way where we can get that going in Nashville, like for real, to get at least one or two spots to get popping. You know what I'm saying? Maybe one do the day party and then move to the other one to do the night party or something like that, They do be having little daytime brunch joints, but they haven't got them like a club atmosphere like that, Maybe like one, but it ain't nothing like Houston. Let me say that.
But yeah, this your boy Rose, man. To Flake's thing, it was good to see a lot of the brothers. It was we haven't been able to link like we wanted to, but it was definitely a good time. Seeing family, I slid by. He had to handle some business in Tennessee is the reason why I came. So it's just a blessing. Like I've always said, everybody's alive, everybody's well. So I won't complain. To Flake's point, yeah, y'all definitely. But shout out to Houston and even Dallas because I've experienced that a lot. It's just having a lot of Black proud spots that they keep down the foolishness. Honestly, it's what makes that actually happen. So it's spots where you can go to in Dallas and Houston that are all Black owned, very close in proximity, and it ain't gonna be no bullshit. So it's like you there and you having a damn good time. So it's gonna be plenty of mimosas, plenty of hookah, plenty of whatever you want to do. It's pretty much whatever you choose. So shout out to those cities, Houston and Dallas, for always, putting on and letting us be comfortable within our skin, dressing how we want to dress and acting accordingly, dancing, having a good time. But life is grand, man. I can't complain. How's excuse me, how's everything in your end, Spirit?
On my end, everything is good. I had I don't want to call it a humbling experience, so I'm gonna say I got put back in check or got realigned. So I had some things that's been kind of taking me out my element mentally and making me want to go back to my old ways and some things I used to do and take me there. But I had to talk with some people who love me, my parents, family, brother, sister, and then, loved ones who really care about me and love me. And they had to put me in check. It just told me I'm on a different path and a different wavelength, and I got too much to lose to be allowing somebody to gain power or access over my livelihood and what my reaction to them. And I just had to listen to what they said and take heed to it versus, wanting to move how I wanted to move. So it was very realigning and refreshing to get my mental clear again and to be on a straight path. So other than that, everything's good. So I'm all good.
That's good stuff right there, man. It's funny that you had brought up and speaking about that. And I'm glad you was able to get there because sometimes we all get to think about taking that step back and somebody needs to check us. As D Rose was a witness this weekend, we had a little situation at my house that was over some ignorant stuff, you know what I mean? And people want to take it to a place where it was like, ain't no coming back from, And I had to break it down to him. I said, if it's on the news, this is what they gonna say is what caused this issue. So is that really even, like, if you think about a news broadcast, you're like, man, this was dumb as hell. Not saying it was your situation, but just saying that in this situation, it was just like, it's like it's not even no point for brothers to even want to take it to a part where you're gonna have a temporary feeling that's gonna end up being a permanent decision or a permanent cause in your life when you got kids and a career going and a family and this, that, and other. It's like, man, this little simple stuff ain't even, worth it over, but yeah. But yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, just before we even close it out, because that's not something you just want to skip over, man. Salute to you and yours for interjecting on any, negative energy that could have been surrounding you dealing with, whatever situation, because to Flake's point, it only takes 2 seconds before you've either thrown your life away for whatever reason, even though it could be legit. But we all know, like they say, regardless if it was mentally, there's always, hopefully it's another day, but if it's financially, a real hustler always gonna bounce back. So it is what it is. But some things you can't look over, but I always want to praise a Black man for sure for being able to think through his emotions instead of reacting out of, because that's typically what people expect. So when you crash out, you're looking for sympathy, but in reality, if you was in a conversation amongst people that actually loved you, they would actually checked you on it, and the real one's gonna stand by you. But we'll talk about it once everything's done is done, and then sometimes this is how it be. But salute for real.
Appreciate it. So this week we just gonna talk about the ridiculousness that's happening in some of our states in this land that we call America. So we're gonna start off with the great state of Texas, where I was born and raised. But there's been some BS happening on the borders of Texas with some Haitian refugees. And so we're going to dive in and talk about that and discuss that. Facts, feelings, emotions, pictures that we've seen circulated around the web, and different ideologies and logic, and trying to get an understanding of what the fuck is really going on. So I'm gonna let y'all jump in and touch on whichever part y'all want to touch on first, because I know a lot of times you see certain things, and so as we was talking about earlier, it inflicts certain emotions from you, and then you think in that emotion versus trying to get the whole picture, the whole story, whatever, and not justifying anything that was done on America's part or the law enforcement part. But we want to make sure that we're not speaking from an emotional standpoint, and we're speaking from a standpoint of truth and real and logic. So I don't know if y'all want to talk about the pictures and with the whip and chasing people on a horse, or if y'all just want to talk about how the numbers are, and when people came in support of the refugees, that supposedly thousands of them just disappeared and they wasn't there in them confined holding, you can't even say shelter because it was just wired fence, but automatically somehow they just disappeared when we had people from the culture, of the culture, coming down there to give assistance and help. They disappeared. But I don't know what part y'all want to touch on first, but I'm gonna let y'all talk about whatever y'all want to talk about first, and then we could go from there and discuss a little bit further some of the things that we have seen with America handling the Haitian refugees.
Yeah, I start with I always say, he who controls images controls minds. So when I think of it from an emotional perspective, I see, police officers, white police officers, Hispanic police, anybody on a horse makes me think of how it's depicted in movies that you've seen slave catchers on it. So emotionally, how I'm looking at that is like, is this 2021 that we're looking at, or is this back in the slave time? So emotionally, you're going to automatically get charged to see exactly what's going on. So as you do a little research, you will see that Border Patrol typically is on a horse because literally they are patrolling the border, right? So emotionally, that's where it had me, was a space that, why would they, one, choose these images? Two, in this particular instance, why would there ever be a point of aggressively trying to catch one and they show that to the world? Because at the end of the day, there's way more Haitian people that were coming over that were in asylum than the assigned officers to the border. We all know that. But the images that they choose to use was to incite a riot or the uproar of how much attention it is actually gained. So I'll just speak on it from like the imagery part of it. That's what really hit me emotionally, because knowing how the media works, that was a perfect storm for them, is to show what looks like the 17 or 1800s in 2021 is automatically going to catch everybody's attention. So I think that was a very poor part of how the media depicted it, and not overlooking the things that could have transpired and what we will eventually discuss. But they knew exactly what they were doing with the imagery of it, because it caught everybody's attention. They didn't show the 15 to 20,000 people that are actually in asylum that have actually filed proper paperwork, that were sitting in tents, because all of a sudden there's a certain hole because of what the governor was saying that was going on in Del Rio, which is really how we got here. But from the imagery perspective is what had me emotionally charged.
Yeah, I think the imagery had everybody going. Like D-Rose said, once you put that picture out there, people are gonna be like, what the hell is going on? The first thing that popped in my mind though is, how these Haitians get to Mexico? That was the first thing that had popped in my mind. And after I did a little bit of research and digging, come to find out those people was escaping Haiti already. And then they was just coming up through the ranks. I guess you call them coyotes or whatever, when they tell people where to go. So they had been in Mexico and been living there and had refuge in Mexico, but something that happened there, well, they're like, okay, so this is bad. So now we got to escape from here, and we're gonna head a little bit of north, and that's where they got the coyotes and stuff like that. If you don't know what a coyote is, that's where you pay somebody this lease at the minimum. I've heard like $5,000, and they show you how to make it through the terrain. They show you like different parts to stop at if your family's hungry, if y'all need to make a stop and get food, this, that, and the other. They show you all these different places and take you up to the border. And then after you get so far to the border, they pretty much just drop you off and let you say, hey, you walk over this mountain or this hill, you where you need to be, and they go on about their business. So I didn't even know that either. I didn't know a lot of Haitians had escaped refuge from Haiti to go to Mexico and was living in Mexico for a while. And this is how we end up in this situation where we at now. We all know what's going on with the cartel and everything in Mexico, as a lot of Mexicans are trying to get here due to the violence there also. To Spears' point, I'm gonna touch on this and saying a lot of them had disappeared. A lot of them did disappear. What they did was they put them on planes and lied to them and said, hey, we flying you to XYZ. And then they open the door and they back in Haiti. And then they let them off the plane and they realize it's Haiti. Then they try to get back on the plane. They pretty much just kicking them off and saying, now you here now. You know, this is where you at and this is where you gonna stay at. And the sad part is that these are not people that's possibly even broke. They might be broke now, but they left careers, they left jobs and all that good stuff they had over in Haiti and paid all this money, gave up their life savings to even get here. And if you give up all your life savings to even get here, and you get here and then you are lied to and saying, hey, we gonna take you somewhere, but you end up right back in Haiti, yeah, of course you're gonna have people rebelling. And because they're like, this is the place I was trying to escape from. Not only am I back here, but I'm back here dead broke because I gave up all my money to escape this place. So some people are able to get over, they are, checking their backgrounds and things like that, but that stuff costs money. So those who gave their life savings that ain't got that money to do that, those are the ones being shipped back. The ones who able to, show they got enough money to at least get a 1-bedroom apartment or to file the proper paperwork, they are being able to stay, from what I'm hearing. I don't, things change in situations like this every day. But pretty much from last research I've done, this is what's going on. And it's pretty much it's a sad situation, considering that this country is nothing but a melting pot of people from other countries coming here. And that's what kind of throws you off. Like I said before, America they have the greatest brand and commercial ever. They have the greatest promotion, and you come stay here and you can be a millionaire by tomorrow. for those who don't live here, that's their mind of thinking like, if I work hard enough, I do another, I can become rich in no time, you know, which can happen, but it's a low percentage of that happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but just to kind of touch on it, because you had spoke on it, like the false narrative that they're painting is that a bunch of people are just running straight towards the border. That's false. A lot of them were in Central America, Brazil, South America, excuse me, Brazil, Chile. They've been there for 3 to 5 years, and where they had happened, they got the notion that when Biden had said they were opening it up, they're taking the perspective, okay, let us move closer towards the border because we've been given the green light, especially the people that have filed for the correct paperwork to you. Speaking of, they're leaving careers. South America isn't terrible in those particular areas because they're pretty well taken care of and they can establish families. But it's like South America is 10 times better than Haiti. But then you get the American dream, it's 100 times better. So that's what led them to the border. But go ahead, Spirit.
I was just basically about to say what you just said again, and to reiterate what Flake has said, that people have been in Mexico, they've been in South America, Brazil, Chile, dang, what's that other country? I can't even think of the country name right now, but they've been in South America for years upon years. And again, it's not just a instant thing, instant access or instant movement on them from Haiti to the border of Texas and Mexico. And so I want to make sure that people understand that narrative, they've taken a long journey, and like Flake said, they spent money that some of it might be all they had to travel from Haiti up through South America. And as Flake said, they've been using coyotes, but they've been using coyotes all the way through South America to North America. And so that travel with your young children, with your kids, and with your family and loved ones, and some not making it, and that's the story that they're not telling either. Everybody don't make it on them trips. So some get left behind, get lost, some pass. Things happen because, again, most of this travel is on your feet. You actually walking to get to where you're trying to get to for some freedom, for some type of life better than what you were having, where you were living, or where you're from. And so that's the sad part. To talk about the pictures are unforgivable and just like, I don't know how you could fathom whipping somebody regardless if they're trying to get to safety. At the end of the day, you could have hopped your ass off the horse. You could have had a conversation with them and talked to them and just stopped them. I mean, again, these people aren't threats to anything but your so-called privilege and your so-called superiority complex that you have, that you got to flex some type of muscle to whip somebody running for their freedom. And that
so much of not being a threat, they had plates in their hand. Plates. Who was a threat holding a plate with food in it?
Or children, or holding a child. But again, so those images that were depicted were just unfathomable, and they did cultivate emotion and an emotional response at first. However, to be educated and to talk about the bigger picture is there's an issue with America not allowing access to people who don't look like what is becoming the minority, that don't have a certain amount of capital. So therefore, they say you're no good to enter my country unless you look like this or unless you have this much bank in your pocket. You're no good to enter my country. But if we go to a historical place, like Flake said, probably about, I say 85% of America now is immigrants. 85% of America right now is probably immigrants. And for people to have such a stronghold, gung-ho ideology about not allowing, closing our borders, not allowing immigrants in, not allowing refugees in, is an issue. But then the bigger issue is that Haiti and other refugees of color have the lowest percent of approval access into America over any other race, creed, group of people. And that's something that should be discussed and talked about, because even when we did the Afghanistan episode and we talked about that, they're allowing more of them to find refuge in America than they are allowing the Haitians. And I don't understand. Well, I know why it is, because one, it's about money, but then two, it's also about allies and the things that America put itself into with being in Afghanistan for 20 years and trying to make them a democracy and all this other stuff. So they felt that it was their responsibility to bring some people back and to help themselves. But because Haiti is deemed as one of the poorest countries in the world, and because it's mainly Black, they're not allowing a lot of them to come over. And to me, that's the thing that really needs to be discussed and talked about more so, or just as much, I'm not gonna say more so, but just as much as the fucking law enforcement on horses whipping innocent people who are just looking for refuge.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think, very valid point. And, since just even since the Monroe Doctrine, and the U.S. has always had a dominance over the Western Hemisphere since like the 1823s when you look into it. And the U.S. had occupation over Haiti between 1915 and 1934. They've always flexed their power to make sure that Haiti doesn't actually get back to being in its dominance. And of course, we know exactly why. It was because Haiti was one of the first countries, and very Black-led countries, that had demanded and won the Revolutionary War without any outside help. They've been a target ever since. And then, it's just disheartening because people will want to say like, hey, politicians can stop this, but with under 40 Trump's order and enabled with the Title 42, they can actually push back on refugees coming over in a time of like 19. And so the Biden administration actually continued what Trump had put in place for Hispanics and now for Haitians and people that are refugees at the border. And so now that they're continuing that, a lot of people want to say like, why is Biden not speaking out? It's because he's still following the order, and what they're using in place is that 19 is what's keeping them from allowing them to file for asylum, because it's deemed as a health risk, for lack of better terms. That's what they're using it as, is that now a law that protects them, which is that. So I think it's unfortunate. I think it's terrible handling of both sides. I know a lot of people like to make it political, and a lot of it is because they've robbed Haiti for everything that they needed, and they won't work with them, so they can never get back to the power they've had since they won their independence. And we're just looking at how they want to treat them. And they still got to Spears' point, they still got their hand in the back pocket of Afghanistan, so they would never cut off their relationship. Haiti's never needed them. They didn't need them when they fought for their independence, and they still ain't crying out for them now. They're just trying. There's thousands of them that are coming to the border, but it's a lot of corruption going on over there. But that's just what it is. They're just following the orders that have been in place with Title 42 and using 19 as a reason to not, follow the law. And it's been no difference. That's how just flexing their power.
And one of the dumbest things I heard was after the pictures and everything came out, they said, "Well, we won't do no more horses at the at the border." It's like the horses did something wrong. Horses ain't do nothing wrong. What we blame the horses for here? We want a lot more. No, y'all need to. Those officers at the border need to be punished. Need to be talked to. Need to be set down. Something need to happen. I don't think the horses did anything wrong to anybody. All they did was walk up and down the border under somebody else's control. They didn't pull out a whip. They didn't pull out. And they said it wasn't whip. Those was the reins from the horses they seen. Well, regardless of what it was utilized as a weapon, And anybody who grew up in a certain era that ever felt that good old extension cord, you definitely know what them reins feel like once they hit their skin. You understand me? Well, speaking of the 19 and a mandate and a jab, I guess we'll move it up to see talk about what NYC is doing. NYC has a mandate that's going on right now, which people feel a little bit different about. So let's get what you guys thoughts on that. I think it went into play here pretty soon. If you worked in the certain facilities, you had to have a certain thing done by 11:59, 12:01, or you will lose your job. So since we already brought up 19, let's go there and see, what you guys thoughts on that with this big change that's going on.
I personally feel it's BS. How are you gonna have people who were on the front line protecting, saving, helping lives, who have seen it from beginning to where it's at right now, and say just because you don't follow this mandate, you lose your livelihood? I've been in the trenches. I've been here helping people this whole time. I might be the most educated about everything that's going on with this thing that we're going through. And you're telling me because my choice is to not do something that you're gonna fire me? America is just, every time you think they can't show you something else, they do it every fucking time. And like, that's all I really, those are the only words I can say, because it's just, they've been in the trenches, bringing back lives, seeing lives lost on a regular, daily, if not sometimes hourly basis, and helping aid people back to health. And you gonna say, I'm gonna fire you? When we know, one, how booming the health field is, but also the lack of people working in that field as well. How overworked a lot of them people in hospitals are, and your resolution is saying, fire them, make the people who are following the mandate work longer hours, get paid the same, bring people in who don't have the experience, the work experience, they fresh off, don't have the work experience to deal with this shit. It's just, it's asinine to me.
Yep. Same thoughts, my brother. Like they went from America's heroes to America's zeros, and I could just only imagine it or just put it in the same space as they've been on the front line. It's almost to the point where it just is disheartening to even see soldiers or people that came home from the military that are displaced, that can't get jobs, they have mental issues, they could end up being homeless or a lot of different things, and they're on the side of the road, begging for money. And literally, the only reason why we're able to operate as a company, as a country, is because they went over and fought. You feel me? So it's like these same people that we were praising for taking on this issue, and now you're saying that these are the same people before there was any mandate or any, I'm gonna call it super juice that protected them from it. They were doing this for 6 to 7 months or even longer before there was any super juice that was available to anybody with their same approach. They always got on the gloves, they always got on their masks, they've always did these proper precautions. So it's now all of a sudden, well, why would you want to do that? Yes, I do understand that if there's flu, that they've had to get that. But if this is something that is still new, that isn't really even a lot of data that supports the super juice, it's like, we didn't know that prior to it. You don't know how clean they were prior to putting on the gloves. So it's like now all of a sudden is, if you don't have the super juice, mean you can't be cool or you can't work on me. It's not like you were asking people that prior to it. So now all of a sudden the super juice is the most important question that you're going to be asking somebody. No, it's not. So it's like you're putting these people out of their career jobs. Now you're forcing their families to, already in a economy that's, teetering the line between going into a recession or depression. And now because they don't want to get the super juice, you don't want to employ them. But just imagine questioning the people that have seen several different deaths and a lot of things surrounding it, not even wanting to get it based off of their studies. Imagine punishing them and not asking them, why don't you want to? Because if those people are surrounded by it daily and they're still, I wouldn't even use the word refusing, just choosing not to because it's their God-given right, I would want to have an interview with them to say, why aren't you, when you've seen X amount of people die because of these issues? It's, I can't even find the words for it. It was crazy to even see that driving home last night. It's like, are you serious? But what I end up seeing is that it's not an extension, but for the people that didn't meet the deadline, they are on a 30-day unpaid leave. So for a month, there will not be any bread coming in unless they end up choosing to get the super juice.
And before you go real quick, Flake, I just want to add, and I really don't know, but I just want to throw it out there as a thought. Is this not borderline breaking HIPAA?
I was actually speaking with some people and they said no. But for me, you couldn't call my doctor and say what I've either had or haven't had. I don't understand why the super juice is so important to where they can release your personal documents to say, I am this or I'm that. I thought it would be, some people say, yes, it's very much teetering the line, or yes, it is. And then some are saying, no, it's not. I don't understand personally how it's not, because I've never, if I can't verify who I am or I didn't come into a doctor's office, well, hey, we haven't even talked to Mr. Rose. I don't know what documents you're requesting unless you sign some paperwork. So it's like, I don't know. I want to ask some more people, but I've had it's about a 50-50 split. And this is people that are in the healthcare industry that feels like this is violating HIPAA at its finest, but they have some little way of maneuvering and sliding through the cracks to make the super juice the most important thing that has ever hit our lifetime. In my 30 years, super juice is it. This takes the cake for everything, like every damn thing. So I don't know. Flake, what you got, man?
One thing I like that you gave it the name is super juice. I'm gonna use that from here on out. I'm gonna use that super juice from here on out. That's funny. But to answer your question, as somebody who works in a certain industry, no, it's not. It's not violating it, because they're basically just asking, well, do you have this jab or not? And that's basically it. If you, with most of these facilities being private institutes, it's just like your business that you own being a private institute. You know what I mean? So if your private institute say my workers are required to have XYZ and you do not, they able to release you from that. I'm playing devil advocate and I'm gonna go the different route. I mean, be honest with you, I think it's one of these situations where things change where if you think about the woman who sued McDonald's because the coffee was too hot, you know what I mean? If you think about people in lawsuits for a lot smaller situations, I think it's private institutes protecting themselves. And with that being said, is somebody who gets that and passes on, the family come back and say, well, you had them in hostile environment. You had them in situations where they was in this environment each and every day and you did nothing about it. As we know that they was running out of the proper equipment to protect themselves at certain times. So I understand where people are coming from and saying, hey, you know, I've been through all this with you. Why are you doing me like this? But I think it's private institutes protecting themselves due to some fact that somebody can come back and file a lawsuit if something happens. I mean, it's just like if you worked at a factory and, for example, I used to work for Wilson Sporting Goods when I first got out of high school. I'm making the golf balls. They use a certain paint that makes people sick or whatnot, and they never change their paint out. Something happened to me, my family come back with a lawsuit. You know, I think it's one of these situations where they are in these high pressure situations, and you got people who work in these institutions that also are high risk people as well. You know, so you got somebody who's got, you know, prior health history or issues, and they also on the front line working and doing this. That's how I'm kind of looking at it. Not saying it's not wrong, but I can see how these private institutes are basically saying, hey, this is what needs to be done. And if you think about NYC, a lot of those places, you either got to have a super juice or something showing negative, and that's even going to sit in a restaurant. That's even going to go to the club. This, you know, it's a lot of places like that in that area. Like I said, not saying I agree with it, but I can see it from the other end. Also, there's a lot, it's a lot for people to get up, pack, and move. But there's a lot of these facilities that don't require it. Matter of fact, if you live in that NYC area across the bridge, they are not required. Spears, I see your face. Go ahead.
But that private is protecting, and I get it because even with, like, I think Tennessee may have the same thing as Texas for the super juice, but if you're privately owned, it's the only way you could regulate anything. Outside of that, we will be knocking at your door and we're gonna get them 20, 50,000 ban for this wrongful termination, my brother. So.
And also going back to the HIPAA violation, it's just like saying HIPAA, and I'm gonna end it right here. I'm gonna let Spears go. As far as the HIPAA go, yeah, think about it. When your kid go to elementary school, when your kid go to middle school, when your kid go to high school, they are asking you for certain shot records to be provided before your kid into certain grades. Now, is that violating HIPAA? Because nobody never. But it's pretty much the same thing. They're not asking to go in detail with what your health history. They just saying, hey, do you get this or not? And that's it. If you ain't got it, too bad, so sad. If you do get it, come on, we finna keep pushing. And especially places like NYC that had a whole lot of issues from the jump.
So my thing is, I'm not in disagreement with what you said, but I am in disagreement with, you can't spring that shit up on me within a day and then tell me I'm terminated.
No, Spears, I'm gonna cut you off. I've been hearing about this for the last 60 to 90 days. This ain't nothing new.
No, it was a possibility though.
No, they was telling people 60 days ago, this is where we go. This is where we are moving toward. This just didn't happen.
May move toward.
No. They let them know.
There was never a definitive saying we are moving towards this. Perfect example to what you said. Across the bridge, they're not requiring it. because there wasn't a definitive saying this is what NYC, the
across the bridge
county,
is a whole
or
nother state. Across the bridge, a whole nother state.
Part of it is, but all of it's not. But what I'm saying is still, they wasn't saying that this is what we're requiring, or this is exactly what we're going to go to from my research. Now, again, I could be wrong and you could be totally right. But from my research, they wasn't saying that this was a definitive thing. They were saying this is what we're possibly moving towards. And also that, one, if you do decide to do this, or you don't decide to do this and follow the mandate, I still don't think that it is legally justifiable, because you're coming in contact with people who don't have the super juice. You have to work with people who don't have the super juice. So who is to say that the legal issue, the lawsuit, is on me, when they was right next door to somebody, or they was sleeping in the same room, because them little curtains ain't shit, sleeping in the same room with somebody who was unsuper juiced. So it would be different if they said everybody.
Well, those people are separated. So if you get that, what we talking about, you not in the same area as somebody who don't have it.
But you have to walk through the same door.
Yeah, you got to walk through the same door, but they got it separated. This floor is 19th floor. The other floor is,
but you still got to walk through the same door. You still got to cross them paths. It would be different if they said, "Oh, if you can only come to this hospital if you're super juice." Then I can understand them demanding that from all of their employees, being a private entity. However, if you're still dealing with people who are unsuper juice, you can't require me to do something for what? When as a healthcare specialist and provider, we know that super juices normally take a certain amount of time for it to be effective.
Right.
Then when you can't test for certain variants of the whatchamacallit, and the super juice wasn't made for certain variants, what is even the point of getting the super juice?
I mean, it's just like saying don't get the flu shot. You know what I'm saying?
I've never had it in my life.
I mean, I ain't had it either, but I understand what you're saying. But as a pack, as doctors and nurses have to take, regardless if you don't have the super juice or not, if somebody is an emergency need, they have to take care of that person. But at the same time, and to go back to what you said though, if I have a private business, I can do what I want to. I can do what I want to. If somebody got it, yeah, it'll be the law. If somebody has a private moving business, and we in and out of people's houses every single day, I can say, hey, look, I'm high risk. I'm the business owner. We in and out of people's houses every day. I need y'all to get super juiced up because I don't need it getting back to me and it's messing my whatever, Lyme disease or whatever you got, diabetes or whatever, and passing away. Ain't nothing the law.
Have this virtual conversation with your employees.
But ain't nothing the law can do about that because it's my business. I'm paying taxes to the state off the money I'm making on my business.
No, I understand that. But again, as you stated, that doctors, people in the healthcare field have a certain pact or oath that they have to carry to not turn away emergency patients. So regardless if that person is whatever, you still can't make certain mandates throughout your whole business because you have an oath to carry first and foremost. And so that's my thing, but I get it. I mean,
like I said, if I think this wouldn't be an issue, and I could be wrong, and y'all don't take this as legal advice, nothing like that. It's my own thoughts. If that woman would have never sued McDonald's for her coffee being too hot, I think situations like this, you want to see people going over and beyond to cover themselves from getting lawsuits filed.
But I mean, that lawsuit, even though she got her money, that lawsuit was stupid in itself too.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. But like you said, it's stupid in itself. This is stupid in itself, considering you got somebody who might have been doing this for 20 years and due to religious beliefs is not gonna get super juiced to let that person go with 20-something years of experience. That's been there since day one. They probably not on paper know as much as the doctor do, but through their experience, know almost just as much as the doctor doing the surgery. You know what I mean? I ain't say it's right. I think it's pretty stupid too. If you got somebody who been in the trenches this entire time, but I can see where they coming from, especially in a place like NYC. There was so many people passing away. They had body bags sitting outside.
Yeah, and just to clear it up as we getting done, this is all alleged. These are just our thoughts on what's going on in America. Do not take any of this as that outside of entertainment purposes. Just going to put that consent out there. This is all allegedly. So
yeah, don't be out there trying to sue somebody. Talking Jay Flake said.
Yeah. This is just three brothers expressing themselves during the week. So to all that's listening, this is for entertainment purposes only. Everything we said is alleged. You do your own due diligence.
Now, for real. And with that being said, for our black
Hold
business,
on, before you go any further, we got to shout out a special month that you reminded us of, Spirits, before we started.
yeah, it is the Hispanic Heritage Month. So salute to all of our Hispanic brothers and sisters, your kings and queens. This is your month, and at Supremely Black, we want to just shout y'all out and support y'all and say that we love y'all and keep doing y'all thing. A month is never enough for anybody, but we want to make sure that we just acknowledge the month that you are giving. So shout out to the Hispanic Heritage Month and to all the Hispanic brothers and sisters and kings and queens that are out there in the world making it and moving on and, living their lives.
Yeah,
Salute.
and just to kind of give a little some history behind it, National Hispanic Heritage Month goes from September 15th to October 15th. So that's their actual month.
So with that being said, we're going to go to our Black Business Minute. And for our Black Business Minute this week, we're doing That's All Folks. So it's a play on That's All Folks from Looney Tunes, but it's That's All Folks. So it's a daiquiri shop out here in the Plano, Frisco area, the DFW Metroplex. Daiquiris delivered via DoorDash, open Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 4 p.m. to 9, drive-through only. Thursday, Friday, 4 p.m. to 10, and Saturday, 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. DAXallfolks.com. So it's DAQSALLFOLKS. And you can find them at DACallfolks on Instagram and DACallfolks.com. The main location is 8700 Preston Road, Plano, Texas. And again, it's Black owned. Salute to you. And that's our Black Business Minute for this week.
Salute.
Salute the Dex, all folks, them daiquiris. I ain't had theirs, but daiquiris be on point. Our Supreme Black Person, we gonna go to the homie, Yo Gotti. So I gotta give a salute to Yo Gotti. He's our Supreme Black Person of the Week, as he has become part business owner in DC United Soccer Club. So salute to him. Man, as we know, Yo Gotti as being a rapper out of Memphis, Tennessee. Started way back in 99, 2000. I've been following his career since about 01, 02. And just to see him go from where he started off at with the funny looking CD covers that look extra crazy, with the tapes with the writing on them, all the way to a multi-millionaire selling albums and having his music label CMG, and now being part owner of their soccer club, man. So salute to him, man. Big up to Yo Gotti, man. He is motivation each and every day, man.
Shout out to Gotti.
Yeah, shout out to Gotti, a real one. A real one. Also, shout out to Gotti for doing something that a lot of us won't do, and that's gifting his boy 1.5 million on his birthday. You know, salute
yeah.
him for that. So Gotti doing big things, and he's always trying to educate people, and not allow our younger generation to crash out, but put them on the real. So salute to you on all your efforts, Gotti.
Yeah, he meant that when he said he recession proof. But with that being said, go ahead.
Oh yeah, so nah, for real though, he definitely did do that. For the people that are actually listening to audio, make sure you share with a friend. Make sure you tap in to our Acast to kind of, you have to type in our name to really follow us. For the people that are looking for it on YouTube, you can follow. If you're following us on Instagram, you can see it in our link tree. But make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. But that's what you're going to have to do as we're going through a different process of getting our audio and visual out there. It's going to take a little bit of a manual process to get to us, but that's exactly where you can find us at is Acast. Type in Supremely Black Podcast and we will pop up. And for YouTube or if you're trying to follow anything on social media, Supremely Black on Facebook. And for YouTube purposes, it's Supremely Black Podcast. You got it, Flizzy.
For all our kings out there, put your crown on, tilt that thing to the side, let them know you are a king. For all our queens out there, put your crown on, tilt that thing to the side, let them know you are a queen. We are Supremely Black, and we out.
Love.